I'm going to start calling this car the head scratcher Porsche. It has been a pain. It's been a pain. And quite a lot of you said in the comments, Rob, that gearbox issue, was that the reason this car was parked up for so long? And I didn't think it was, but I'm starting to believe there was possibly some truth in that, and that possibly is the issue. Let's jump straight into it. I want to explain to you what's been going on. So you can see the seats are back in it. I'll pop them back in, put a seat cover on. No messing around here, ain't been started for a few days. It's fired straight up, perfect. You can see there, park. Let's put it into, you heard it go into reverse, and you can see it's moving backwards. Neutral, drive. Moving forwards. Got no issues there with it whatsoever. But I took this car out for a run. Look, everything is lovely now. But the minute this car gets up to temperature, it gets harder and harder to put in gear. And I don't think it's anything to do with that now. That has fixed that problem. It knows exactly what gear it's in. It's got a new rod on it. We actually think that it is something inside the gearbox that is causing this problem. So I've got no choice. We need to get this in the workshop, get it up on a ramp and take another look. I've forgotten how many times now I've actually driven this car into the workshop and put these pads under the jacking points to get this car up on the ramp. Hopefully, fingers crossed, this is the last time. So I got it under the ramp, getting this front wheel off, and then we'll get it up in the air. I just wanted to show those new parts that are fitted, so you can see that new gear change rod there, and then behind there you can see that new position switch. Well, more than anything you can see the new wiring, but in there is that new switch, and it's just not making any difference. There is telltale signs that this has been sealed up before, so it's definitely 100% someone's had a little play with this before. But we do need to remove these under trays in order to get to that gearbox sump plug. You can just about see it now. There is one here, but I think that's the refill from a little bit of research. You need to actually drain it off through that one there. So I need to remove, obviously, all of these strengthener panels. They make up part of the back subframe. I need to remove those, remove this under tray, and just continue on until we can get the oil out. And then it looks like there's lots and lots of little star drives around the outside to get that sump removed. So I guess I'll just continue on and take it apart. That's all we can do. Let's try and get this resolved. So with the Porsche in particular, we're completely happy, and you can see across the top of the actual check there, overview, theft, odometer, nothing there is amber. Everything is absolutely fine with this car. We do know that, we did previously check it, and we know that it's all above board. But I just do want to show you that it is worth doing a car vertical check regardless of whatever car you're buying. Last week, me and Chris went to buy a car from a particular police auction that we've bought previous from, and I want to show you what actually come up on a car that we was trying to purchase. And that was this 2018 Skoda Octavia, and it was listed with no issues at all. And you can clearly see there that it is highlighted theft. And when you scroll a little bit further into the check, you can actually see this vehicle may be stolen, and there's a stolen vehicle report there for this vehicle. So of course all of that needs looking into before you purchase the vehicle. They could not remove that marker before we bought that vehicle, before we wanted to buy that vehicle, so we didn't end up buying it. Now it is a no-brainer to do a car vertical check when you're purchasing your vehicle. Use the code up on screen now for a nice little saving on your check, and of course there is a link in the description. So over with a tool tray, I've done this a few times, and then made a start on that aluminium under tray and those two long arms that go from the front to the back. It is just a load of 15 mils, no other size, and two little Phillips screws right on the front of them, and then that tray pulls out, both of those arms pull out, and then that exposes the sump on the bottom of the gearbox. So a fair bit of work just to get to that sump. Of course those two arms, that under tray, all of that needs to be removed. There's no getting away with it, but all quite straightforward to undo. You then have to drop the anti-roll bar, drop that out of the way, because once that is bolted on, you can see it would prevent that sump from coming off. You would have also seen in the time lapse, I actually made a mistake and took out the refill plug and then quickly put it back in. Luckily nothing leaked out, and then I removed obviously the bung to get the oil out of it, the drain. So I've got about 4 litres has come out of it. I'm not sure exactly how much has got to go back in it, but I don't know, has this been leaking before? There does seem to be residue all the way around, pretty much all of it underneath here. It all does look a little bit wet. That could be, that wasn't very tight, that it's been splashing out. Or is this bit clean because that tray's been covering it up? I don't know. I know that we've got all of these T25s all the way around the outside. So that's going to be quite messy getting that off. I've got a drain tray ready. I'm going to undo them, get that removed, and then I'll guess we'll get inside and take a look. So just whipping around now with the ratchet, actually cracking them all off, and then I'll go in with a gun and get them all undone a little bit quicker with a gun. Little bit of cleaning up there. Fair bit of work there to get that removed. Like I said earlier, loads of T25s, and the oil was just pouring out from everywhere. There has been about 5.5–6 litres of gearbox oil come out of that now, and once that cover come off, I've removed the filter as well. It's quite scary how many bolts is in there, I'm not gonna lie. So, gear change cable is up here, comes down to this arm, and this is just on a bracket, obviously, and then that goes off across to, with this linkage bar, to your gear linkage. And that comes down to that position switch that we actually fitted, that new one. Inside there, you've got the other end of the shaft, and that's on the position switch, actually comes through your gear change shaft. And then that actually turns this little metal bar inside onto this shuttle valve. Now I've had a little good feel around in here, but if you get hold of the end of the gear change cable, it's actually moving freely. You can see that shuttle valve is coming in and out, but I definitely think that the issue is there, because it's perfect when it's cold, it's perfect now, but as soon as that gets warm, something in there is expanding or blocking up, and it is preventing that shaft from moving. That's perfect. I guess I need to do a little bit of research on that shuttle valve, just try and find out a little bit more about it, how difficult it is to get out and what else it connects to. I think I may even give Josh a call at JR, or just drop him a message and ask him to give me a call in his lunch, because I know he's messed around with a few automatic transmissions, and it's not something I've ever opened up before. So I'd be lying to you if I told you I knew what all of that was and how it works, because I genuinely don't. It's just, you can see that obviously that is operating that shuttle valve, and once it gets hot, that's not working. Let's do a bit of research and see how we get on. That was a very interesting conversation. We have got a new one of them on its way. It's going to be here in a few hours. But apparently, 1997 only, it was meant to be, but some early 98s received the same. This valve, this shuttle valve, is actually made of Bakelite. And when it gets hot, it expands, and that is what is causing the problem. So there's an upgrade for it. I believe it's aluminium or metal, and that one is on its way. But I need to work out how to get this one out of here, and there's a lot of screws there. It's a bit of a worry, but like I said earlier, if you don't go in there and have a look, you're never gonna know, and you're never gonna know how to work on one if you don't start trying to work on one. So I am gonna slowly undo these screws and try and remove some of this and work out how to get that valve out. But if you look up there, you can see there's like a groove that it sits in, and it can only go so far back, and obviously it is a lot longer than what you can see there. So maybe I don't know if these are separate, these two parts. Again, need to do a little bit of research, and then I'm going to work my way through it. So Keep your fingers crossed for me. Let's give it a go. And here we go. This is quite scary because I've never taken one of these apart before. You just see how many screws there is in there to undo. But I'm planning on just undoing them, lowering it down as little as I can to get that bar out of there. I do not want to take it off if I don't have to, but if we do, we will. Again, I don't know if I'm doing this exactly right, but I've got it out. And what I've done is just undone the screws on the front one and just dropped it down low enough and actually just twisted it and pulled it gently and got it to come out of the hole. So there is a part number on there as well. What I'm going to do is compare this to the new one when the new one arrives. It shouldn't be much longer. This has took me quite some time, and you can see there's loads of screws the same size. There's two that's not. Those back ones are a completely different size, and we've got two there, and I know that they go here and they're a completely different size. So I guess that definitely won't be no good now I've dropped it. We'll wait till the new one arrives and we'll compare it, but could that little thing be causing all of these problems? Chris said, I said, well, so what is actual Bakelite? Because it's not something that's commonly heard, is it? And he said it's the same thing that's like plug sockets. The backings of plug sockets used to be made of Bakelite, and I guess the new one's metal, so we'll have a look when it arrives. And there we go. That is the new one. It looks identical, but clearly that's Bakelite plastic and this one is metal. I do want to get that fitted as soon as I can while I remember where all of those screws go, because there's so many of them. Let's get that one in and get this car buttoned back up, and fingers crossed this is our issue. But that would make sense, wouldn't it, if that is expanding and getting hot and preventing it from going in gear. There's only one way to find out. It was reasonably cheap, this anyway, so let's get it in there and see how we get on with it. We will. So that all went okay. Back in with those screws. There's loads of different sizes. That's the trouble. Not loads of it, there's 3 different sizes. So there's really big ones, and then there's like 3 long ones at the back, and then 2 really skinny ones at the front. Not really sure why they're like that, but I guess they're like that for a reason. Pretty happy with the progress. That is it all back together. You can see a nice new filter in there. I've got that new valve in there, and that's well, it's doing the same as the other one, isn't it? But we don't want it to seize up when it gets hot. Now with the sump, I've just cleaned that up, but there was some sealer on it. You can see I've got a brand new gasket there for it, but it did have sealer on it in the first place. Do I put sealer on it, don't I? Would you? Won't hurt, will it? Won't hurt. Just put a bit of sealer on the sump, then the gasket, and then butt it up to here. Because the face all looks very, very clean, like it's not had any sealer on it. But you can see that that sump has definitely had sealer on it. So I am just going to go around the edges, I think, with some sealer, put the new gasket on there, and then get that buttoned up. The only thing that does do by putting sealer on it is, if this don't fix the problem, when we take that apart, it is going to want another new gasket again. But yeah, let's just do that, put some sealer on it, get that bolted up, and then we'll start the process of the refill on the gearbox oil. So on with some bit of sealant on that sump, new gasket on there. We'll get that sump fitted, stop the oil dropping all over my head. Just a couple of screws in there to get it started, and then I went round with a gun, done them all up, and then straight round after with a ratchet, just checking that they was all definitely tight. You don't want no oil leaking out of there. It's a bit of a pain because in order to test it, you actually need all this framework back on there, otherwise it's all going to move around. But that's the sump all back on. That could do with a little while to dry off anyway, that sealer. I've got 6 litres of gearbox oil in there so far, and I've bought 7, so I'm hoping that's going to be enough. Auto Trans DVI or DV1. You basically fill this plug until it starts leaking out, and once it does leak out, you've actually got to start the car, cycle it through the gears with that still out, and then keep topping it up till it starts pouring out again, and then stick that plug in and it's full. But I reckon where the sump's been off this for quite some time, probably even after we've done that and give it a good run, it's going to want checking again. So I'm just going to continue putting all this back together, and then I guess we'll top up the oil. Fortunately, it has got a little hole there so that you can just use it through that, but I don't want it all to start splashing on that tray, so don't really quite know how I'm going to do it. I'll have a think about it and get on with it. So back on with that aluminium under tray. Once we got that on, we can stick the bars back on, loads of a few 15 mils rather, back on there to hold that all together. And I think we're pretty much there with it. Let's get the oil filled. That's quite therapeutic, seeing that all go down. Had to put an extra litre in here, but as you can see, it started to leak out, and that means it's full. So apart from a bit of tidying up, I think that is it. It's done. It took 8 litres of gearbox oil. It's got that new filter in there. It's got that new valve in there. It's got 2 chances, isn't it? Should I just take it for a road test?
Yeah, or take it book it for MOT.
Yeah, good idea, because it's got no MOT.
It needs to be quite hot to properly test it, doesn't it?
Yeah, so I'll give it a good run.
Well, I suppose first thing is see if it drives out of the workshop.
Oh yeah, that'd be fine. I reckon it'll be fine, because it always did. It was just once it got hot, it was stiff. So yeah, I guess I'll head over I'll get it booked in. I'll head over for an MOT, give it a run, mate, and fingers crossed this time.
Lucky.
Yeah, I can't believe that though. Made out of plastic, Bakelite. Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Let's see how we get on. Finally, after all that, it was that valve. It now drives flawlessly. Absolutely no problems whatsoever. I mean, it's right up to temperature.
That's better, isn't it?
Smooth as anything.
Lovely.
Isn't it unbelievable, but something that small can cause that many problems.
Right headache, isn't it? Those seats look well, Rob, don't they?
The seats look beautiful, Chris. They really, really do look nice. They've made so much difference, haven't they?
Yeah, a lot of difference, yeah. Yeah, good.
What do you reckon, mate? What's the plan?
Well, what's left to do on it, really, before it goes to the paint shop?
I've got oil and oil filter there to do.
So you might as well, now it's up to temperature.
Yeah, I'll get that done.
Drop the oil.
I don't think I'll bother filming me underneath there.
No.
Everyone's seen enough of that for today.
Then yeah, it's ready for paint.
Get it out of the paint shop.
Yeah.
So happy now. That's finally running and driving exactly as it should be. Let's get it in and get it serviced. So oil cap off just to let a bit of air get in there, up on the ramp, out with the oil bung, under with the oil tray, and drain it all down. Filter housing to be so tight, but as you can see now, it's in the top of the tray. I managed to get it undone. We'll have to have a proper good look at that in a minute, make sure that's got no issues with a thread. I don't think it will have, but it was just very, very tight. Right, I'll let the rest of that drain out, and then I'll top it all back up and stick a new filter in it. So a little bit different, this one, and we're going to change things up a little bit, and that is purely due to demand on that car. Now it's actually over a week later, and I've rung up and put that car in the queue for the paint shop, and again it is in that queue, and we've got the BMW, another Volvo, we've got various cars waiting in that queue. So what we've actually decided to do is crunch the numbers on that car and actually put it up for sale, only due to the amount of requests.
Oh, there's been lots of people.
I've had lots, and I know you've had a few as well. People ask you about it. So we are going to crunch the numbers and put it up for sale. And I've just said to Chris, if it don't sell, it can stay in that paint shop. I'll keep it. That car is an investment for the future due to the miles and how nice it's going to be.
I think with a full repaint, sky's the limit for that car.
Oh, absolutely.
With the mileage and the history of it.
The owners.
You're not going to find many with that miles, are you?
No, you're not. Right. Sorry, Johnny, we love the show, but you did not buy the cheapest Porsche in the UK, I'm afraid. So purchase price, Chris?
£500.
Collection?
£50 we put for that, Rob.
Petrol?
£40.
Petrol pump?
£79.
Brake discs, pads, fluid?
£216.
4 times wheel refurb?
£200.
4 new tyres?
£432.
Transmission, position switch, linkage rod.
We've got a combined price for those two items, £418. And we now think there's nothing wrong with the one I played with.
No.
So we've got a spare one of those.
Yeah. The shuttle valve.
£55.
And the gasket, filter and fluid.
£52 for those bits.
And is that including the fluid?
No.
Sorry.
We've got, fluid's quite expensive. £108 we spent on automatic transmission fluid.
Yeah, it's dear stuff.
Yeah.
Seat restoration, you'll see Lee do that.
That was £204 for both seats.
And MOT.
£40.
Oil and filters.
£106.
Battery, that was from Tannar, that was sponsored, so
Yeah.
no cost there. Tracking.
£30.
Valet.
£20.
We are going to ask for
Hold
that
on.
car. Go on.
Total you want?
Oh yes,
Which
total.
I've already added up. So the total for parts and purchase of the vehicle was £2,550.
What a bargain. Now we'll just put out there, that chap was actually scrapping that car. He actually rang several people to come and get it, and none of them could get it out of where it was in his garden, or didn't want it because it didn't run. So of course, for 500 quid, I was out there like a rat up a drain pipe. I went after work, didn't I?
You did, yeah.
Yeah.
And despite the headache it's well worth it.
Oh yeah, well worth it. Now this is going to give us a lovely, lovely profit if it sells at 6,500 quid. That's a bargain, that car, 6,500.
I think so.
Which is going to give us an amazing pre-tax profit of £3,950. And with a quality respray, like you said,
Yeah.
the sky's the limit.
Probably worth pointing out, don't ask us how much it'll be with that paint job.
No.
Because we really don't know at this point, do we?
No, that's right.
And like we say, it could be sky's the limit on that. So
Absolutely.
But as it stands, 6,500.
So at the weekend, I'm going to chuck that car on Instagram. It's all MOT'd. It went straight for an MOT. No advisories whatsoever. So I think that car's good. You can jump in it now and drive it. It's all serviced. The brakes are all lovely. The tyres are all new. You've all seen it. You've seen the videos on it. So unfortunately, that is the end of today's video. If you did enjoy it, as usual, hit that thumbs up. We really appreciate it. And of course, it shows your appreciation. For a chance to buy that car, you need to be following us on Instagram at Salvage Rebuilds. You can also follow Chris when he's out on his jollies doing different stuff at Salvage Rebuilds Chris. We look forward to seeing you all very, very soon in the next one.